Let's bring in somebody who works in D.C. That's Louie Gohmert, the congressman from the great state of Texas. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Always good to talk to you guys.
Congressman, do you think as President Trump gets his people in place, there's going to be less problems with executions on executive orders and everything else down the line?
Yeah, a good book once said and still says you can't serve two masters, and apparently we had an acting attorney general that was still serving the Obama administration. And by the way, if she really cared about the Constitution, why didn't she say something about those 7 countries when that was put into the section of the INA that it was during the Obama years?
Sure.
You know, if you look at the executive order, and I've got it right here, you won't see those countries mentioned because it was the Obama administration that named those countries that we had to be concerned about. So it'll be good to have Jeff Sessions because he's loyal to the Constitution and not to political philosophy of the Obama years. That'll be awesome.
When this news broke last night, what went through your head, and why do you think that Sally Yates had to go?
Well, because she violated her oath, and I mean, she needed to go. She obviously had a political agenda, because if she cared about the Constitution and she thought there was some problem with naming these 7 countries, she should have brought that up before Obama left office. But politically, she showed herself to be a political hack, and hacks have to be jacked, and she's been jacked and she's gone.
Well, there you go. That's an easy way to put it. But, Louie, you know, you work in Washington. You know that all of the departments in the administration have career Democrats, largely Democrats, the way Washington works, but a lot of them are partisans as well. You know, when you look at Sally Yates, you say she was a partisan, but what about the partisans at the Department of Justice and then at the IRS, at the EPA, places like that? Yesterday, Sean Spicer said of the State Department people who are writing that thing, hey, we didn't like the immigration thing, just get out if you don't like it.
That's right.
What do you think?
Exactly. And I think that, well, what Newt Gingrich told Steve King and a small group of us 2 weeks ago was exactly right. Somebody said, Newt, what is the #1 thing in the Trump agenda that we should do to help Trump? And he said, well, it's not actually listed on the agenda, but you've got to give the president the ability to fire people that aren't doing their job. That means amending the Civil Service Act. We got to do that because he's got to be able to say those 2 words that viewers love to hear, you're fired.
Clearly.
And that's the only way we're going to get things cleaned up and get political hacks out and get people that care more about the Constitution than their political circles. And then we can start getting this town cleaned up, and it will start smelling as pretty as it looks.
I'll know if there's any chance of you guys ever getting along if the Supreme Court Justice nominee was able to get those to at least 10 or 8 votes needed to get a Supreme Court justice confirmed without the nuclear option, 10 of which the senators are in Trump-won states. But I want to stay on this terror issue. Saudi Arabia is not on the list. Pakistan's not on the list either. That bothers me. Should it?
It should. I mean, I've read the pages that weren't made public yet that were classified. I don't think they should be. But I'm aware of how Saudi Arabia has played both sides. You know, they thought if they could be our friend and help us with terrorism, and yet over here fund terrorism activity, then they would be in the middle and they'd be safe. They found out they're not safe, and if the Obama administration had been more concerned about the Saudis, they would have listed them among the 7 countries that they did that were at risk. And the reason Saudi Arabia is not listed, and I think we should entertain thoughts of listing them, but the reason they're not is because the Saudis give us information against which to vet what the people say, who they say they are. And we don't have that from the countries that have not been banned, but where they're moving into the U.S. has been paused, and that's the operative word. It was simply paused. The nations were determined by the Obama administration. It's just that now we have a president who will actually do something. You know, all of the agencies know that Iran is the top funder of terrorism, and so what does Obama do? He sends them $100 billion, lots of cash, gold. And we now have a president, when he sees that a country is the top supporter of terrorism, he's not going to send them money like that. And they're going to be listed as a threat, and we're going to do something about it. But it also encourages Saudi Arabia. And by the way, Steve, he's doing exactly what he said. Our friends are going to be treated like friends, and our enemies are going to know they're our enemies. We're not going to pay the schoolyard bullies to try to leave us alone. That never works.
People
never has.
Louie, people shouldn't be surprised that Donald Trump is following through on campaign promises. It's just so refreshing to actually see a politician
I don't know.
do that.
Most people have been, they've gotten used to being shocked. You know, gee, somebody's going to do what they say. That's a shocker.
Crazy.
Wow. But Trump's doing it. God bless him. This is awesome.
Congressman, thank you for joining us.
Oh, good to talk
to
to
see
you.
you. All right, let's hand